Hi, I'm Dave Ewick, City Librarian for Southfield Public Library. Welcome to More Than Books, a show where we look at happenings in and around the Southfield Public Library. On today's More Than Books, we're going to take a look at some of the activities that have taken place this summer at the Southfield Public Library. The library has acquired some of the art that was at Northland Center, and moving it to the library was no small job. WDIV, Local News Channel 4, and the National Weather Service helped the library sponsor Weatherfest here. It was a big success. We'll have these stories and more on this edition of More Than Books. The library's gently used bookstore, titled The Bookshelf, has gotten great reviews since it moved up from the basement into the first floor of the library. Here is where the Friends of the Library sell gently used library materials at a great price. You can find books, movies, music, all kinds of things. And the Friends use the money that they raise from selling these items to help the library with various programs. You should come in and check it out.
I'm a reader. I used to read a book a day, and I reached a point where I could no longer afford to buy a book a day. I went to used bookstores and enjoyed the camaraderie of book readers. And even when that got to be a little more expensive, I came to the library and I was just overwhelmed. The fact that it was free. I could read anything and everything for free. And we have such an unbelievable selection here at the Southfield Public Library. I loved it. And I told myself, when I retire, this is a job I would do for free. Just to be able to walk around and be among the books, that's a joy all in itself. I came to Southfield about 35 years ago. We wanted my daughter to have the advantages of Southfield Public School System. We had it in private school, and we found that we could get just as good an education here for free. So off we came, not that far, just a couple of miles from where we were in Detroit. I had always been utilizing the services in Southfield. I've been utilizing the library. I've been coming up and walking around. I like to walk, and doing the parks was just amazing to me. So it wasn't a big leap to come to Southfield. It was close, it was convenient, and we found that it had all of the amenities that we wanted. I retired 6 years ago, and that was always on my bucket list. When I retire, I'm going to the library and I'm going to volunteer. When I would come in, Anita, who was the manager, would always say, "We need volunteers. You're here every single sale. Why don't you volunteer?" The library, when I came here, the bookseller was offering book sales in the basement 3 days out of every month. And I was a regular. Every single sale from the time I've been here, I've come to the library. And they were always recruiting, always wanted volunteers, and wanted people who liked books. So I was a natural, but I worked. I didn't have the time or the energy as much as I had the desire. So when I did retire, that was number one. The very first thing I did was fill out a slip to volunteer for the library.
The bookstore previously was in the basement, and it was just kind of dark, and a lot of people were apprehensive of coming to the basement. And we had a little bit more room down there than we do up here, but it's more bright. It was cold and dark, but the books were all in boxes and on tables, and you had to go through the boxes to find what you wanted, which is different from here. The name now is a bookshelf. It used to be the bookseller. All of our money that we get from the sale of our books, which are all donated, go back to the library for all the children's programs, any of the artwork that we have on display here, and Battle of the Books, Spell Bowl, the Jazz and Blues, and anything else that the library might need.
Nothing is more exciting than when you come across people who come here for the very first time and say, "I never knew you had a bookseller. I never knew you had used book sales." and they become regulars. The last time I spoke with the person in the lobby who was a first timer, they came out with 4 bags of books. It really is like you just died and went to heaven. These books are as close to free as you're going to ever get. Our books are almost 10 to 15% of the original cost, and that's an unbelievable price for a book. And our books are all gently used. We don't use, if a book is damaged, if it's dirty, we don't use those in our book sales. We prize our books. And when you look at the way our books are set up, we're set up like a library. We're not really set up like a bookstore. I've gone to a lot of libraries in the area, and honest to God, and it's not because I'm a Southfield resident, but I would put Southfield Public Library up against any library in the state. It's gorgeous.
We have 2 managers, myself and one other lady that is on the board that handles the bookshelf, and we put in requests for funding if we need different things, equipment here, book carts, or any type of supplies that we might need. And we also have a vote in how the money is spent to go to the library. We need board members at this present time. We are looking for board members, and if anybody is interested, we're more than happy to give you an application, and the present board reviews the application to see if the person would be a benefit to the board in the different areas that we need assistance. They can either go to the City of Southfield Library webpage, and it'll tell what days we're open on the calendar, or our sales are the first Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday of every month, and it's generally during the first full week of the month.
We have books on tape, which are really big sellers for us. We have VHS tapes. I don't know many places where you can go and still pick up VHS tapes. We sell DVDs, we sell magazines, and books in every single category: science, math, computers, mysteries, you name it, and we'd be hard-pressed not to find it here. We don't do a lot of advertising. We're nonprofit, so it's not like we can spend lots of money on advertising, but we do get a lot of word of mouth, and anyone who's been here are always return visitors. We just wish we could get the word out more because this is a phenomenal sale. When you come in for these 3 days and you're able to go through and pick up a book on tape for $1.40, a bestseller for $2.75, I don't know any place else that you can go, including a garage sale, and come up with those kind of phenomenal prices. We also do seasonal things. We sell Christmas items, a lot of Christmas gifts. We have books on sale that are geared strictly toward Valentine's Day. We do a Black History display every February and throughout the year. We have art books. We have some the classics. And there's books that you can't find in a lot of libraries. We go back and we go online and we price them accordingly, about 10% of what you would normally buy on Amazon. So it's a good deal.
The Friends of the Library are always looking for volunteers. You might not realize the many ways the Friends of the Library assist us. They buy furniture and equipment we can't afford in our regular budget. They fund many of our programs. They support the staff with training opportunities, and they act as hosts for library programs. The Friends are an invaluable part of public libraries across America. You can become a friend by filling out a simple form right here at the library. You can find out more by calling 248-796-4397 and tell us you'd like to help the Friends, or email us at krembert@southfieldlibrary.org. Rescued from Northland Center Mall, the iconic Marshall M. Frederick sculpture, The Boy and Bear, was relocated to its new home inside the Southfield Public Library in May. This massive limestone and bronze sculpture had been in cold storage since last spring. When the city purchased the piece and 10 other artworks that were on display at the now closed mall for $500,000. Last year when the news came out that Northland Mall was going to close, there was a very short window of time during which we found out that there were 11 artworks that were going to go up for bid, for auction. There was a real concern on some of the folks that are historically minded around here that if these leave, we might never see them back in Southfield again. So we tried very hard to figure out, well, I should take that back. City Administrator Fred Zorn came up with a plan, and he said, you know, could we somehow or another go to the judge, because there was a receiver named, and the receiver was going to need funds to keep Northland's power going and water and things like that during the time frame that the bankruptcy was going through. So he went and discussed, I don't know with whom, but then he came back and said, if we can put together a decent bid, we might be able to stop it from going to auction. And so we kind of made a preemptive strike and went to the judge. I did go to the courthouse and heard the judge. It was, it could have been very much more expensive. Had it gone to bid, the city might not have been able to save these artworks. The point that we wanted to make was these are public works. They should be part of this public history of Southfield. There were some private individuals who might have wanted to purchase certain pieces, but we didn't want them to leave the public arena. So Fred came to the library board and he said, can you help? The library board had a fairly large gift fund. The Leon Miller Trust, we had not touched it for many, many years. We said, yes, we'll put $250,000 of that toward this purchase. The Friends of the Library, I approached them along with Fred, and they said, we'll put up $50,000. That became half of the money that was needed. Fred was able to figure out a way to borrow from a fund that has to be paid back from city funds. And so we were able to make that within a week. We were able to make that purchase, or make that bid, so to speak, and we got the pieces. Honestly, a lot of the planning was done with the city's facilities department and engineers. We had a gentleman from Out Construction, Dennis Smith, who had helped to build this building. He was the construction foreman. I'm not sure that that's the right term, but he came over and took a look at things. So Dennis came up with the idea of, why don't we take out this wall and come in through the side? It was actually less expensive than either of the other ways, and it worked out perfectly. It was just an amazing alternative, and we had to have a study done, because the floor of the tower is one that has radiant heat. So we had to make sure that the weight of the Boy and the Bear would be spread enough that it wouldn't collapse those pipes or tear up our heating for this wonderful space. Last Friday was an exciting day. I started the day at about 7 a.m. I was here, and the gentleman from Lansing Glass had already arrived. I had expected them about 7, but they had already begun their work by the time I got here. They actually removed a wall that is mostly glass, and we chose Lansing Glass because they were the ones who had installed that wall. So they began their work before 7 in the morning. They were working, and during that time there was another crew that had gone over to the Department of Public Works yard, which is where the Boy has been stored since the purchase. And they took the crate and loaded it onto a large semi, and flatbed trailer, I should say, and they with a forklift, and they brought it over. The Boy and the Bear arrived probably about 10 o'clock in the morning. The windows and the beams were almost gone. There was still a little bit of work. So the Boy and the Bear arrived about 10 o'clock after having its trip over from the Department of Public Works yard, and it was in the parking lot. At that point, we had to determine how best to remove it from the truck. So they used a forklift, a very heavy forklift, lifted it off of the truck and brought it to the ground. There also is a base that was a separate piece that was removed, and first they brought the base in with the forklift, and they came across the sidewalks. When we got to the brick area of the library front area, we had to put down some plywood so that it would spread out the weight, because if the weight of the forklift and the base were too much, it would crack the bricks. And of course, that would be another expense we didn't want. So we did that, brought in the base, placed it where it needed to be. After some finagling and finding the right spot, we got that placed. Then they went back and went for the Boy and the Bear itself. Brought it in with a large forklift and got it just to the edge of our terrazzo floor. We then put down more plywood to help spread out the weight. The forklift itself is like 20 tons. We can't take that kind of weight on this floor. So then they took 2 pallet jacks, each of which were, I think, 4-ton pallet jacks, one in the front, one in behind, lifted the Boy and the Bear just a little bit. And then by hand, it was brought in inch by inch. There was a team of 5 or 6 guys from Jake Noseda, I believe it is, and Sons, and they brought that in very, very carefully. They were amazingly gentle with this piece. Brought it in as close as we could get it, and then they took the pallet jacks out and they set up a crane, for lack of a better term, a 5-ton crane with 2 tripods and a flat beam in the middle, so that then they could come over and actually attach chains to the Boy and the Bear, lift it just enough to be able to pull the crate out from under it, and then slide it over into place. We had all these people looking, trying to make sure that it's getting, oh, is this the right angle? How's the lighting? How is it fitting on the slab? Is it perfect? I should say, we started at 7 in the morning, they were done by 2, and the reconstruction of the wall began. Everything got put back together. I have to say that we had no major glitches, and it looks gorgeous. A private unveiling was held for those who donated to help repay the funds that were used to purchase the artworks. The city's art commission, which is made up of all volunteers, got together and asked what could be done to thank people for their donations. So a whole hierarchy of incentives was created to be given to donors. There were hors d'oeuvres and a slideshow of the actual move and installation of the bear. At the unveiling, it was revealed that more than half the money had been raised. A public reception of the unveiling was held a few days later. One of the things that's changing in libraries throughout the nation is that we're not just doing books. We are a place of knowledge, we are a place of culture, we are a place of information. One of the ways that we can bring culture is through artworks. We were very, very blessed when we opened the building to have donors who gave us several pieces, such as the Dr. Seuss art in the children's room, the Mark Twain statue that sits in the tower lobby here. A couple of years ago, maybe not even that long, the Martin Luther King Task Force said we want to add a bust of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We were thrilled to be able to accept that. The library is becoming more and more a place where people can come. I don't want to say we're a museum, because we're not, but you can see some wonderful, beautiful art. Our children's garden has 3 or 4 different wonderful works. We call it the Imaginarium Garden because we want people's imagination to take flight. The Boy and the Bear, it's going to add a tremendous amount because we've got some very, very historical type pieces. This is going to be historical, but in a more whimsical way. It's going to welcome kids just as it welcomed kids to Northland. I can see future generations loving it just as much as their moms and dads and grandparents did. We're hoping, if all goes well, a couple more Northland pieces will be coming to the library. One will be going in, the baby elephant is tentatively slated to go into our Imaginarium Garden. One of the pieces from the Imaginarium Garden is going to go out front to welcome people from the parking lot. So it'll be great. And then if we're lucky and all goes well, the whale that was in the fountain at Northland will end up in our fountain here at the library. I find the idea of libraries bringing artworks in is a chance to help people's imagination soar. It's a chance for kids who may not get to go to museums to have something in their community that they can look at and see, maybe I could do that. And so I think that art is a very important cultural piece. It may teach them a little bit of history. We have folks all the time who come in and they don't know who Mark Twain is. So then they'll go look him up. We might have folks who say, well, who's this other guy over here? That's Martin Luther King. oh wow, I've had a nibble. I think that we may have someone thinking of giving us a bust of Malcolm X. Another piece of history as well as culture. This is the kind of stuff that once we get known for having it, we will see more and more people wanting to join in. The pieces that we have that are Seuss related, those, you watch kids' faces. They just, wow, because they might have seen it on the page and they thought, oh, it's just a drawing. Then they see this sculpture, 3D, life size, and they're, wow, this could be. That's the kind of thing that libraries like to do. I'm standing in the tower lobby of the library in front of a display that we put together for Banned Books Week. Banned Books Week happens every September, and it's celebrated by libraries across the country to show the freedom to read that we have in our America's public libraries. This same space was filled with kids for Weatherfest in May of this year. Weatherfest 2016 was a unique rally. It was an event where the goal was to try and interest kids from 3rd grade to 8th grade in meteorology as a profession, also to promote weather safety and weather preparedness in general for the whole Metro Detroit community. In addition to the National Weather Service, many valuable weather and emergency preparedness partners provided their support. They included the library, the City of Southfield Homeland Security Office, WDIV TV4, and the Oakland County Homeland Security. Owlie, the Skywarn mascot, was on hand. He's a severe weather hero who helps kids and others prepare for severe weather. Weatherfest helped connect our children and our educators with first responders and civic leaders in our community who show how we'll come together when needed to ensure our children's safety in the event of a severe weather event.
Today is such fun. This is the first ever Weatherfest taking place in the state of Michigan. We've got it right here at the Southfield Library. Weatherfest is a group collaboration talking about weather and its effects on the community. So we've partnered with NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, National Weather Service, WDIV Local 4, Department of Homeland Security, and we've all come together to talk about the different effects weather has, especially severe weather, on us. You know, first responders get involved with that. So police and fire are called in to help, so they need to know about weather, but so do you. You can do lots of things to prepare for weather. We're specifically talking about tornadoes today because it's starting to be tornado season. We're getting to that, how you prepare, the things you should have in your house to prepare. You have your kit ready. What happens if you're out and about when the tornado warning is coming? Where do you go? What do you do? Do you stay in your car? Do you not? These are great information that we're providing today to help you be safe when the severe weather hits. We've got our Weatherfest page. We've got lots of great resources for you. We have a youngmeteorologist.org/Southfield you can go to find links and resources. We've also got reading lists if you want to find out more books and information for today.
Unfortunately, in the United States, we just live in an area where the weather can be extreme. We have the most severe weather out of any country in the world, just because of our geography and the way that the Gulf of Mexico is situated versus the Rocky Mountains. And so we do get the most dramatic weather, and weather can be very dangerous. So whether it's a severe thunderstorm that can blow over a tree, and if a tree falls down at the wrong place, that's a dangerous situation. We do get tornadoes here in Michigan. We will see floods. All of this can be a hazardous weather event that can be life-threatening if you don't know what to do. And that's what we're here for, is to teach people what to do when those hazardous weather events happen, and we can minimize any damage or any threat to life. Yeah, at the National Weather Service exhibit, we have a teaching tornado. It kind of shows the basic building blocks that we need for a tornado. We have the moisture in the atmosphere that creates our thunderstorm. We have spinning wind, which helps create the severe thunderstorm and eventually the tornado rotation. And we also have a very strong thunderstorm with a fan that acts as an updraft to get the tornado to stretch from our severe thunderstorm. Basically, we have our pool of moisture down below. That's the low-level moisture that we need for the thunderstorm to form. This fan up here acts as our thunderstorm updraft, so it pulls that warm, moist air up into the atmosphere. And then there's another fan blowing the wind in a circle. And in the atmosphere on tornadic days, we do have rotating winds in the atmosphere. And so when all those come together just right, we get our tornado to form. And so just like in nature, it is a very delicate balance, and the fact that we have over 1,000 tornadoes across the country is pretty remarkable, because it is such a delicate balance to have that moisture, to have that rotating wind, and to have that thunderstorm updraft. And so yeah, if I put my hand in here, I disturb the flow and the tornado does dissipate. We hope to spread the preparedness message through homes across Southfield and the Metro Detroit region. We also hope that we ignite that bug in a few students that may have an interest in meteorology, and maybe they will pursue a field in meteorology or any environmental science. Maybe this is the spark that they need to say, hey, this really interests me and I want to pursue a career in science. We have a big partner group involved with preparedness, whether it's local emergency management, Homeland Security, the police and fire departments. So we're all in the safety arena, and so we all work together to promote the ideas of safety, whether it's weather or a non-weather emergency. And so we do work together a lot, and we want to promote to the kids the idea of safety, whether it's weather or other emergencies that come along.
This is something that the station wanted to be a part of very much, to teach the kids all about weather. It's something I think that they are fascinated with. It's something that they also fear quite a bit. Severe weather seasons here, so we're here to help just educate the kids about what kind of storms that we have here in Michigan and what kind of crazy weather we see around the world, but we're here for the kids. I think to come out and see the emergency management teams, the fire departments, the police officers, to see the men and women in uniform is very exciting for the kids, and then to see Owly from the National Weather Service, and to meet some of the meteorologists that are on television. I think it's a good way for the kids to connect the jobs to the weather and sort of bring together the importance of what the emergency management teams are doing, how we as broadcast meteorologists get the word out, and the National Weather Service to feed that information to us. It's a connection, it's a network, and I think the kids can come out here and see it from the men and women who do it. Kids are fascinated by weather but also fear it. It's the reason why I got into weather, was because of my fear of it and to conquer fears of it. And I do remember as a kid in the suburbs of Chicago growing up, hearing the sirens going off and getting underneath the stairwell in my parents' house and being absolutely frightened by it. But that was maybe the seed that was planted for me that led me to where I am today. I mean, we're always up for answering questions, whether it's something on Facebook or through an email. We do a lot of station tours with school groups, things like that, to come in, and we get to show you the weather office. We get to take you into the studio. Maybe you get a chance to be on TV. Hi everybody, wave to the camera.
We offer Skywarn training in the springtime, and we train individuals across Metro Detroit and across all of Southeast Michigan to know what to look for when storms form and how to report that information to the Weather Service. When bad weather moves in and the child is outside, the basic rule is when thunder roars, go indoors. That's nature's way of telling you you're close enough to that storm that you need to get inside. Now, if you're away from the house, you're at a park and you're several blocks away from the house, you might want to start watching for those dark, ominous skies. That's also another way nature is telling you to start listening for thunder, watching for lightning. When thunder and lightning happens, you have to get inside. And what happens is lightning can actually arc from the thunderstorm 5 to 10 miles away and strike areas that are 5 to 10 miles away from the rain. And so if you're hearing thunder, you're within that 5 to 10 mile radius of that storm where lightning could be at risk, and you don't want to be a target. You need to get inside a strong, permanent building. A building has to have electricity or plumbing to be a suitable shelter for a thunderstorm. And so we want to just teach our kids that when thunder roars, go indoors.
I want to say thank you to all of the citizens of Southfield for supporting our library. I also want to let you know you can come in and pick up one of these at your library programs that tells you all of the things happening in and around the library for the next 3 months. Until next time, keep on reading, and we'll see you here at the library.